Welcome to this deep dive. We've got some fascinating research here, all about the challenges of providing personal care for individuals with dementia. Let's kind of unpack why these everyday tasks become so complex. And I'm super curious about how dementia affects not just memory, but also, a person's emotions and even how they see the world.
You're spot on there. It's like dementia is causing a shift in their reality.
Yeah.
Think of something as simple as getting dressed. For us, it's automatic. But for someone with dementia, it can feel like trying to navigate a maze, blindfolded.
Wow, that's such a vivid image.
Yeah.
The research actually uses the phrase symbolic losses to describe some of the emotional challenges. What does that even mean in a practical sense?
Imagine kind of grieving the loss of who you were, even though you're still here.
Yeah.
Something small, like not remembering how to make your morning coffee, can trigger those feelings of loss and lead to some pretty intense emotions.
So it's more than just forgetting things. It's like a loss of identity and independence. That must be incredibly difficult to cope with. The research also mentions some of those challenging behaviors like accusations or even hoarding. That seems kind of counterintuitive. Why would those things happen?
It's so crucial to remember that behaviors are often a form of communication in dementia.
Oh, interesting.
Take accusations, for example. It's likely not about an actual theft, but rather a deep-seated fear of losing control. Their world is shrinking, and they might express that fear through blaming others. Instead of getting frustrated, think about how to reassure and empower the person, offer choices, highlight their remaining abilities.
That makes so much sense. It's like those behaviors are a cry for help, a way of saying, I'm scared and I don't understand what's happening. And we, as caregivers, need to learn how to decipher those messages.
Exactly. And speaking of communication, the research dives deep into how dementia impacts, the way people communicate and how we can kind of adjust our approach.
Yes. It mentions things like aphasia, which I've heard of but never fully understood. Can you explain what that is and what it looks like in everyday life for someone?
Imagine trying to ask for a glass of water, but the words just won't come out right. Or you hear your loved ones speaking, but the words sound jumbled and you can't understand them.
Right.
That feeling of frustration and isolation is a daily reality for a lot of people with dementia.
That must be heartbreaking for both the person experiencing it and for their loved ones who are trying to connect with them. The research mentions some tips on how to communicate more effectively in these situations. It stresses the importance of patience and clear, simple language.
Absolutely. It's about slowing down, using short sentences, and avoiding, complex medical terms. And don't underestimate the power of nonverbal communication. A gentle touch or a warm smile can speak volumes when words fail.
The research also talks about tailoring routines to make them less stressful. I'm curious to learn more about that because it seems like routines could provide a sense of stability for someone whose world feels unpredictable.
You're right. Consistent routines are crucial. They act as a roadmap for the day, minimizing confusion and maximizing a sense of security. Think of it as creating a predictable and supportive environment where familiar objects, scents, and even music can evoke positive memories and create a calming effect.
That's a beautiful way to think about it, creating a haven of familiarity amidst the storm of dementia. What are some practical ways to adapt routines? The research mentions breaking down tasks and offering choices. Can you elaborate on that?
Imagine trying to get dressed when you can't remember the sequence of steps. Instead of getting frustrated, break down the task. First, we'll put on your socks, then your pants, and whenever possible, offer choices, even small ones like, would you like to wear the blue shirt or the red shirt today? These little choices can foster a sense of autonomy, which is so important for someone who's, losing control in other areas of their life.
Those are great tips. I'm realizing how much we take for granted in terms of our ability to, plan and sequence our actions. The research also mentions adapting the environment to support the individual's needs. What are some examples of that?
Think about the challenges of visual perception that we talked about earlier. Simple things like using contrasting colors can make a big difference. A dark-colored toilet seat against a white background, for instance, can help someone with dementia see the toilet more easily. Or imagine how disorienting it would be to lose track of your toothbrush in a cluttered drawer. Creating an organized and visually clear space can significantly reduce confusion and frustration.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like you're creating a visual roadmap for them, helping them navigate their surroundings more easily.
Exactly. And it's not just about the physical environment. It's also about creating a sensory environment that's calming and supportive. We'll delve deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
I'm looking forward to that. It's amazing how much we can do to create a more dementia-friendly world, both in our homes and in our communities. But first, a quick break.
Yeah, it's amazing how just those small changes can make a big difference. It's all about working with their strengths and abilities rather than focusing on what they've lost.
You're so right. And it seems like this research really emphasizes the importance of understanding each person's unique experience. It even talks about how past experiences can influence how someone reacts to personal care.
Oh, absolutely. We have to remember that personal care can be a very intimate and vulnerable experience.
Right.
And for someone with dementia, those feelings of vulnerability can be even more intense. Past experiences, especially those involving trauma or a loss of control, can resurface and influence how the person responds to caregiving.
I'm thinking about someone I know who's caring for their parent with dementia.
Yeah.
They're constantly feeling triggered by seemingly small things.
Yeah.
How can they start to understand what's going on beneath the surface?
That's a great question. The research suggests getting to know the person's life history, including any significant experiences that might be influencing their behavior. Talk to family members, friends, or anyone who knows the person well. Look for patterns in their reactions to caregiving. Are there certain times of day, specific tasks, or particular approaches that seem to trigger distress or agitation?
It also mentions the importance of clear communication and explaining what you're doing before you do it. That seems so simple, but I bet it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Clear communication can help reduce anxiety and uncertainty. Before starting a personal care task, explain to the person what you're going to do using simple, reassuring language. For example, you might say, "I'm going to help you wash your face now. I'm going to use this soft washcloth and warm water. Is that okay?"
Right.
It's about respecting their dignity and giving them a sense of control, even in a situation where they might feel powerless.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like you're saying, I see you, I hear you, and I'm here to help you through this. What about when dementia affects a person's ability to communicate? The research mentions how difficult it can be for someone to express their needs or understand instructions during personal care.
Communication challenges are a common hurdle in dementia care. Imagine trying to express a basic need, like needing to use the bathroom, but the words just won't come out right.
Right.
It can be incredibly isolating and frustrating for everyone involved.
That feeling of being trapped inside your own mind must be terrifying. The research highlights some practical strategies caregivers can use to ease communication. It emphasizes patience, which I imagine is key, and using clear, simple language.
You hit the nail on the head. It's all about slowing down, meeting the person where they are, and adapting our communication style. Instead of asking open-ended questions, try offering choices. Would you like juice or water? Visual aids like pictures or gestures can also be incredibly helpful.
It's interesting how the research also touches on dementia's impact on sensory perception. It mentions hallucinations and visual distortions, which must be incredibly disorienting.
It's like their senses are playing tricks on them. Imagine seeing cobwebs in the corner of your eye, but they're not really there. Or the floor seems to be tilting, making it hard to walk. These experiences can be frightening, but it's important to remember that they're very real to the person with dementia.
That must be so hard for caregivers to navigate. It's natural to want to correct someone or tell them they're imagining things, but it sounds like that's not the right approach.
Exactly. Arguing or contradicting the person will likely only increase their distress. Instead, try to validate their feelings and offer reassurance. You might say something like, "I understand that you're seeing something that's upsetting you. I'm here with you, and we'll figure this out together."
It's about meeting them in their reality, not trying to drag them back into ours. The research also mentions that these perceptual changes can sometimes be caused by underlying medical conditions or medication side effects. That's a good reminder to always consult with a healthcare professional if you're concerned.
You're absolutely right. It's always best to err on the side of caution and get professional advice when needed. And while we can't always control these perceptual changes, we can create a supportive and calming environment to minimize distress.
It seems like so much of dementia care is about adapting, about finding new ways to connect and support the person as the disease progresses.
You've captured the essence of it. It's a constant process of learning and adjusting. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person may not work for another. It's about being flexible, being creative, and being willing to try different approaches until we find what works best for the individual and their family.
This deep dive is really opening my eyes to the complexity of dementia care. We've talked a lot about the practical aspects, but I also want to address the emotional toll on caregivers. It must be incredibly challenging to witness someone you love going through these changes.
You're right. Caregiving for someone with dementia can be emotionally draining.
Yeah,
It's common for caregivers to experience a wide range of emotions, including sadness, anger, frustration, guilt, and even resentment. And those feelings are completely valid.
that makes sense. But, in reality, it's tough to stay patient all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips for dealing with caregiver burnout? I imagine self-care is crucial, but it's often the first thing to go when you're caring for someone else.
You've hit on a crucial point. Caregivers often put their own needs aside, but self-care is not selfish. It's essential. Think of it this way. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself allows you to be more present, patient, and compassionate with the person you're caring for.
So what are some practical ways for caregivers to prioritize their own well-being?
It starts with acknowledging your feelings and allowing yourself to grieve the changes you're experiencing. It's okay to feel sad, angry, or overwhelmed. Don't bottle those emotions up. Talk to friends, family members, or a therapist about what you're going through. Join a support group for caregivers of people with dementia. Connecting with others who understand what you're going through can provide a sense of community and validation.
That makes sense. It's like you're creating a support system for yourself, so you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. What about practical things like getting enough sleep, eating well, and exercising?
Those are all crucial components of self-care. Make time for activities you enjoy, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Read a book, listen to music, take a walk in nature, whatever helps you recharge and de-stress. Remember, caring for yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
It's like we've come full circle.
Yeah.
We started by talking about understanding the person with dementia and seeing the world from their perspective. And now we're talking about the importance of caregivers understanding themselves, their own needs, and their own limits.
It's all interconnected. Caring for someone with dementia is a journey that requires compassion, empathy, and a deep understanding of both the person with dementia and ourselves. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together and that we need to support each other every step of the way.
This deep dive has been incredibly valuable. It's like we're starting to unravel the mysteries of dementia and find new ways to approach care with more empathy and understanding.
I agree. We're moving beyond simply managing symptoms to truly connecting with the person behind the disease. And that's where the real hope lies.
Speaking of hope, the research also touches on the importance of focusing on the person, not the disease. It's a reminder that dementia doesn't erase someone's identity or their capacity for connection and joy.
You're so right. It's about seeing beyond the dementia and recognizing the individual's strengths, their resilience, and their inherent worth. It's about finding ways to connect with them on a human level, even as the disease progresses.
It's so true, and I think this research has highlighted something so important.
What's that?
It's about shifting our focus, from what's been lost to what remains. Dementia may steal memories, but it doesn't erase the person's essence, their capacity for love, for connection.
You've hit on a core principle of dementia care. We need to shift our perspective from how do I get this task done to how can I connect with this person in a way that honors their dignity and individuality.
I'm also reflecting on how much we as a society, I think, still misunderstand dementia. There's a tendency to see it as this hopeless decline, but this research paints such a different picture.
It does. It encourages us to see the possibilities within the limitations.
Yeah.
Even as the disease progresses, there are still opportunities for joy, for meaningful interactions, for living a full life, albeit a different one.
This deep dive has definitely challenged my own assumptions about dementia. I'm realizing how much we can learn from the individuals living with this disease if we're open to, listening and seeing the world through their eyes.
Yeah. I love that insight. It's about approaching dementia with curiosity, not fear. It's about embracing the unknown and finding moments of grace and connection amidst the challenges.
Throughout this whole deep dive, I keep thinking about the word acceptance. We've talked about adapting to the changes that come with dementia, but acceptance seems like such a crucial piece of the puzzle as well.
It's a profound concept, isn't it? It's not about giving up or resigning ourselves to a bleak future. It's about acknowledging the reality of dementia while also holding on to hope and finding ways to create meaning and purpose in the present moment.
And it's about, I think, challenging the stigma that still surrounds dementia. Instead of seeing it as something to be ashamed of, something to hide away, we need to create a culture of support and understanding.
Absolutely. We need to embrace the idea that it's okay to ask for help, to acknowledge our struggles, and to celebrate, those small victories along the way.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey of discovery. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of dementia, both its complexities and its humanity.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are resources available, people who understand, and a growing movement embracing a more compassionate and person-centered approach to dementia care.
Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive. Your insights have been so valuable.
It's been my pleasure. And to our listeners, I encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep connecting. Dementia may change the journey, but it doesn't have to define the destination.
That's a beautiful thought to leave us with. We hope this deep dive has sparked new insights and inspired you to embrace the possibilities within the challenges of dementia care. Thank you for joining us.